Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is the LG G6. I've been using this for the past couple days as my main device and been using it any chance I get, and I really have to say LG has stepped up their game quite a bit. Now this is not an inexpensive device. Last year's device didn't really sit well with people. It was modular, it was nice in theory, but it didn't really do so well, or at least I haven't really seen one in person, to be honest. The LG G4 was more of a plasticky design. This is on a whole other level. It comes in at about $720 to $730, at least in the United States, off contract, depending on your carrier, but you could get a different deal depending on what kind of deals they have and things with trade-ins, sort of things like that. Now, this particular one is glass front and back and reminds me a lot of one of my favorite designs of all time, the iPhone 4 and 4S. It's glass front and back and metal around the outside edges, and that's what this is, but really on a newer next generation style design and a whole different build level. It's Gorilla Glass 3 on the front, which makes the display feel like it's right there at your fingertips, and then on the back we have Gorilla Glass 5 for added drop protection, things like that. On the back is where our fingerprint sensor is. It's also a physical button, so you click it and it unlocks the phone. Push it again, it locks the phone. On the back is two 13-megapixel cameras, and they're quite good, and we'll talk about that in a moment. We have a dual LED flash, and each one of these is a little bit different. We have one that has an f1.8 lens with optical image stabilization and phase detection autofocus. The other one is an f2.4 with no autofocus. So they're a little bit different, and you can switch between whichever one you like. Now, around the outside edge, we have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, thankfully. This also has really high quality audio out of it. So we have 32-bit 192 kilohertz audio that this can put out thanks to the DAC that's inside. We also have a microphone on top. If we go over to the side, we've got our volume buttons. On the bottom, we have our speaker, another microphone, and our USB Type-C port. Nothing really on this side except for your SIM card and expandable storage. So this has expandable storage aside from what's available internally. And you'll see I've got a 64 gigabyte card in there, which is nice, and my SIM card. It's also water resistant, so it's IP68 certified, which means you can keep it underwater for some time if you need to. So that's really nice as well if you dropped it in something. It's not meant to be used underwater, but it will work. And then on the front, we have a 5-megapixel forward-facing camera. The rear cameras record in 4K. The front camera records in 1080p. We've got our speaker here and our sensors up there. Now, this comes in 3 different colors: Mystic White, Astro Black, and Ice Platinum. And with it, this is the Platinum one, and with it you get this charger with USB-C. Now, it's a fast charger, but it's not terribly fast. It's probably 1.5 to 2 hours to charge it. It's not quick charge, but it's not bad. I tried it with an iPhone charger or an iPad charger and a Nexus charger, and it all charged at about the same rate. And they may be doing that to extend the battery life of the device overall. Now, this also has some really nice technology inside of it. It's got a Qualcomm Snapdragon 821 that has 2.35 gigahertz dual core and then a 1.6 gigahertz dual core. So we've got a quad core processor with different speeds, and it's got an Adreno 530 GPU, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and 32 gigabytes of storage. But again, that's expandable. On the front, this display, I've got it turned on to be an ambient always-on display, but it's an IPS LCD, and I never would have thought this would be an LCD display. It's a 5.7-inch QHD display that's 2880 by 1440, 564 pixels per inch. It's got Dolby Vision HDR10 compliance, and wow, does it look good. So let's unlock it, and it's very, very vibrant. It looks great, and next to my iPhone 7 Plus, it looks so much better. When you've got these side by side, I know they're not the same wallpaper, but the icons look better. Everything just looks really nice. And I've got Google Now's launcher on here. The Pixel launcher is not compatible, and I wasn't crazy about the LG launcher, although it doesn't look horrible. It's just not my favorite. This particular device is also a different aspect ratio. So it's 18 by 9. And it's 5.7 inches. So this is 5.5, this is 5.7, but we've got a little bit different aspect ratio. And you can adjust apps to fit that aspect. So if I go into Mario Run, you'll see it'll take a second to load. You've got black bars on the top and bottom. But if I want to adjust that, I swipe up, hit this, say I want it full screen, hit OK, it reboots, and now it's full screen. So it auto stretches it and it looks fine. So if you don't want those black bars, you can do that in just about any app. And the phone doesn't really feel slow or anything like that. With all those specs, it doesn't feel slow at all, really. I've had very little slowdown. In fact, it slowed down once or twice, and that was mostly on the first day because I was using it a lot and draining the battery a lot and really putting it to the test of what's going on. And I was only getting about 2 to 3 hours of screen on time at that time. Now I get a little bit more. I can get through the day usually without a problem, and it works great. And I can charge it, like I said, quickly if I need to. Not terribly quick, as in half hour gives me 50%, but it charges okay. Now the battery is 3,300 milliamp hours, so it should be getting you through the day. And then we also have wireless charging. So if you've got a Qi wireless charger, you can charge with that. Now, aside from that, this runs Android Nougat 7.0. And with this particular device comes LG's UI version 6, and it's not awful. It actually looks quite nice. These menus are nice. I prefer the stock look, but that's me. But if we want to change up the home screen, you can see I'm running the Google Now launcher. I can go back to the home style, and it goes back to what it was set to originally. You can also scale these icons. I made it so there's 5 across. Originally it's set up as 4 across. Just depends on how you want to see it. And then this is Google's own wallpaper app, changing the wallpaper in the background. So the whole thing is just a really nice package. You'll see there is no Google Now. We just do this. It comes built in with Google Assistant. I don't know when Android 7.1 is coming, but it doesn't feel like anything's an issue here as far as that goes. Now, the camera is one of the high points of this device as well. And it's got 2 lenses, like I said. Let me move in the Pixel here so we can take a look. There's the Pixel. We've got autofocus. We can change some settings. We have all sorts of different modes and everything else built in, depending on what we want to do. So we can also switch to the widescreen. So right here, we've got this little button here. Now we're on the wide camera, and you can see a little bit more. You can see my keyboard up here. If I go this way or this way, you'll see my mouse is over there. And we can go back here, and we get a little bit tighter with optical image stabilization and then snap a picture. And it's that fast. It really does a nice job. It does a pretty good job in low light, and I've been impressed with the camera overall. If I swipe this way, you'll see now we're on the front-facing camera, and it works really well. There isn't any issues or anything like that. You've got some skin tone changes, things like that. I can change my skin tone. It knows where my face is, and you've got filters and all sorts of things because it knows that a lot of people like to take selfies now and things like that. So let's go back to the home screen, and let me show you the benchmark just so we have an idea. I'm going to switch this back to the Google Now launcher. Now that we're on the Google Now launcher, I know where things are. We'll go into Antutu, and you'll see what the benchmark is. We're in Antutu, and it's 112,764. And I ran this with no other apps open just to get a good idea. And benchmarks don't really say anything as far as speed, but compared to a 7 Plus, here's my 7 Plus at 168,000. So we can turn off a night shift so you can see that the displays look like side by side. Again, this one looks a lot better to me. Now, many of you know I'm an iPhone user, and I've been using this as my daily phone for a little while. And it's really hard for me to go back to an iPhone and then go back to this one. This display just pops. It looks great. I really was surprised it wasn't an OLED display. There are some bad things about it, though, and one of those is it does get a little bit warm. They have a heat pipe that distributes some of the heat out of the processor, kind of distributes it along the back. And when you're doing intensive apps such as games, things like that, or video recording, it can get a bit warm. But it's not hot to the touch. It's just warm. And it's never overheated or anything like that. Now, the screen does take a moment to adjust sometimes from light to dark. So if you come from a dark room into a light room, it doesn't smoothly transition. It kind of takes a few seconds and then it transitions to brightness. And that's if you have auto brightness set on, which I do. If you don't, it'll just stay the same wherever you've set it, obviously. Now, one of the other bad things is the IPS display means it won't work with Google Daydream. So that just won't work as far as that goes. Otherwise, though, you can use pretty much any other app. One of the bad parts of this is the speaker. It's not terribly loud, and it did rattle a little bit when I first used it. And let me turn it up. Now, one of the interesting things, though, is this video was recorded with this camera, and the microphone was so good I almost used the audio out of the phone as opposed to the audio out of the microphone I was using. And it works so well. It's recording this video. You'll see it's got a nice blurred background. However, the autofocus sometimes would hunt a little bit when I was doing this. This was in sunlight. It was nice and bright out, but the autofocus would hunt a little bit, and you can see it from time to time. But if you want to check out this video, I'll leave a link to it, and it's recorded straight off of this in 4K, and it looks really great. So there's really not a whole lot negative to say about this. It just doesn't have dual front-facing speakers. It doesn't have an OLED display. If you like that, that's not a big issue for me personally, as OLEDs actually hurt my eyes, and I guess I'm in the minority with that. But OLED displays generally hurt my eyes for some reason, as I'm sensitive to light. But these displays, I love this display. It's one of my favorites made. And I actually use an LG display for my monitor at home to edit these videos on. So it's really quite a good display, and I can't complain. Everything else about it, every time I pick this up, the phone is great. Every time I pick it up and use it, I'm really impressed by how it feels, how it looks, what it does, and how quick it is. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you've used a G6, if you checked one out, or maybe you've used the older ones. Just let us know in the comments below what you're using, what you're going to, and what you would pick. Let us know. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.